Week 6 has concluded in the NFL season. We're ready to cry. The Bills lost. But on the other side of things, just like looking at the NFL in a whole, last week for Week 5, I did pretty well actually knowing what was going to happen. This week, I think we flatlined again, knowing halfway what would happen, and on the other hand, also not knowing what would happen at all. So, excited to talk about everything we knew and didn't know from last week. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a rough middle ground with this. If I wouldn't have picked as many upsets as I did, I think I would have had a better week. But overall, I'm glad that I did go with some of the upsets because I picked some winners that you didn't pick.
Yeah, you got me in a few of them. I mean, that's for sure. And I there were a few games this weekend specifically that I mean, like, you got me with Miami losing to Jacksonville. That's the first one I'd point out. But on the same stroke of the paintbrush, I mean, there's stuff we didn't see coming at all this week as
No.
well. So
Oh yeah.
that's what I'm even more so interested to talk about. But first up, last Thursday night, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play the Philadelphia Eagles, and I can't say that this taught us much.
No, I left this game knowing about the same amount I did going into it, maybe even a little less. I like it. What happened is exactly what I thought would happen. The Buccaneers won in a rout. And the Eagles don't look incompetent. It's just that Nick Sirianni refuses to run the ball, and that's not a bad thing to do against the Buccaneers defense. That's not a bad thing to do. You maybe don't run it right into the teeth of the Buccaneers defense. I don't have a problem with that. Maybe don't call a screen pass every play of the game. Now, if we can, change that up a little bit, the Eagles might actually be able to win some games down the road against their middling opponents because the team doesn't look like awful. They don't look like a dumpster fire. It's just that the play calling of just we're giving up. Usually, I'd say like a screen pass on like third and long is giving up, but they're giving up every down because they're running a screen pass on first and long, second and long, third and long. And it just seems like they don't want to try on offense until they get in the red zone, and then the offense gets very creative with like misdirections and running with Jalen Hurts and fun stuff like that. And then you get one deep pass like Quez Watkins at some point in the game, but that's about it for that offense.
Yeah, I agree. Not too much to learn. I would just say, I guess, final score wise, as an Eagles fan, maybe you should be a little happier because
Yeah.
the final score looks pretty good for them to be
No, yeah, that's
completely
why I said
honest.
a little bit less because I thought the Buccaneers were just gonna have like their way with them like they did with Miami, but they held their own.
Yeah, they were ready to play in Philadelphia. Short week, and I don't know if that helped them. It seems like it may have, but yeah, I don't know about running. I'm not like the guy who's usually too much like, oh yeah, you need to run the ball a lot, but man, hand it off once and a half. Even that may be a little too little for me. Maybe like at least once a drive. Like if you could do once a drive. But that's also with the preference, hopefully, that you're not going three and out on a drive, because like if it's you run it once, especially if you do something stupid like get a holding call on 1st and 10 and then run it on 1st and 20, I'm just like, no, don't do that. But
Yeah, I
I don't know.
it's kind of ridiculous when the running back on that one carry is averaging like 26 yards.
Yeah, no, that's the
Averaging
other
20.
thing.
It's like he gets his one carry of 26 yards. All right, we have our amount of rushing yards we need for the whole game, so we don't need to hand it off
It's
again.
it's very funny that the guy they hired though is exactly like the old coach, because this is Philadelphia was like second to Arizona in this category for the past few years of just like refusing to run the ball, but when they
hmm
when they do run the ball, they hit it big. And now they're going to continue to be that way because they're, even with a new coach, are still refusing to run the ball. Um, yeah, I think that's all I really have on the game.
hmm
Buccaneers, you're still good at football. Ready for the next one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Miami at Jacksonville.
I knew it. I knew it. You said the Jags were too dysfunctional and couldn't rally to get a win around their head coach. But it doesn't matter what the head coach is going on because those boys stepped up. They wanted to win. Trevor Lawrence Matthew Wright, actually, I don't even care about Trevor Lawrence or anyone on that defense. Matthew Wright stepped up big in this game. Just like a software developer, came up off the street, and now he's making big time field goals across the pond in London. Absolutely love it. The Dolphins look to be a little hectic, a little haywire, and I mean they're playing against Atlanta in the upcoming week. Not to look ahead, but they're playing against Atlanta next week, and I mean that's a winnable game for them. But out with how they've been playing, and now Deshaun Watson trade's getting tossed out there again, rumor and all that. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I mean, if it does happen, I view that as the Dolphins just giving up on this season. It's like, yep, we're done. We're done now. But yeah,
wait. Is the Dolphins are going to trade for Deshaun Watson, or he's
rumors have been circling around today that Watson trade looks imminent within the next week, but I mean that's been happening for 6 months.
No. But why is the season over if the Dolphins get him?
Because he can't play.
Why can't he play?
Oh, because I guarantee you that the NFL would suspend him, or at least put him on the commissioner's exempt.
We'll have to see about it.
If they don't,
we'll have to see about it.
Then it's a breath of fresh air for them, and they're going to win games. But I'm just going into this assuming that he's like, when that trade goes through, they activate him. He's going on the commissioner's exempt list, and they're playing through the rest of the season with Jacoby Brissett, or maybe even playing it through with Tua because the Texans actually wanted Brissett instead of Tua.
Just because the Texans handled it how the NFL wanted them to handle it, it would be very strange if the NFL didn't wait on a ruling from what's going on with him before they made any sort of suspension decision. So unless it coincided with them, like he gets traded and then the ruling is the same day and then the suspension comes, I really don't think the NFL would be in a position, if Watson was ready to play and whatever team he gets traded to is ready for him to play, I don't think they'd have much power in being like, oh, now we're going to levy a suspension without you even being, I guess, convicted of anything yet. But I don't know if convicted is the right word in this sense because it's a slightly different type of trial. So.
I mean, I don't know how the NFL really defines this, but I could just see them saying, yeah, he engaged in conduct detrimental to the league. And then
but he should have been suspended before then, which is not a reason that like the Texans were handling it how we wanted them to. Well, you still should have suspended him earlier if that's what you were gonna eventually come to the conclusion of, anyways. I'm just saying that.
One thing that I've noticed since I've been really following the league closely over my life is that the NFL will never handle a situation perfectly, and I have no doubt that it could go either way. It's really a coin flip that it's like, oh yeah, levy the suspension right now, or just like, oh yeah, let it happen.
It's amazing.
Like, they handled it the right way.
It's amazing how many people you could have employed by one organization and then still not be able to make the correct decisions. Like I don't know. It's just strange. We can probably get to the next game though. Minnesota at Carolina.
Yeah, little overtime thriller there in Carolina. I mean, geez, the Vikings will do everything in their power to make sure a game is close. There are going to be so many heart attacks happening in Minnesota. It is. You don't
even need to be in Minnesota. Every single week, the Vikings game is somehow not at the same time as the Bills game, and I'm like, oh, final 2 minutes of whatever section of games it is at this time, and it's like, okay, what game am I gonna finally tune into for the end of it? And it's like, yep, it's the Vikings game again.
Yeah, it's their games are wild. I mean, the Panthers have really just fallen off a cliff since that hot start because, like you and I said, who did they play to win those 3 games? No one. And now, I mean, they're playing a team in Minnesota, which I'd put Minnesota and Carolina in like the same tier, at least at this point in the season. They're losing to them at home. That can't happen. But I mean, I don't think you or I were surprised that we both picked Minnesota to win this game, didn't we?
No, I mean that's who I went with. I don't know. Game game did what I thought it would. Just, stupidity. Vikings Vikings in the third quarter and early fourth quarter really seemed to find a way to pull away from the Panthers. And then right at the end, let the Panthers get back into it. And then they get the ball first in overtime and immediately score. Just stupidity. I'm so annoyed with the Vikings, and I'm sorry if your team ever plays against the Vikings when we have to talk about it the week after, because there's almost no way I'm going to talk about the team the Vikings played against, because it's just,
Unless they destroy them. Unless they destroy the Vikings, because they did the impossible and had the Vikings not stay close with them, no matter what level their team is on.
Yeah. No, and the other team that I selected that I actually thought was going to be able to pick itself up this season is seemingly also going down in shambles right now at 500, which is very scary. May have a losing record after next week, and just the Vikings being weird. Carolina's side, you're gonna need something to swing your way soon here, because you're streaking in the wrong direction.
They got Gilmore coming in.
I will be very interested to see how that helps them. I have no idea how he's going to impact that team. Honestly, that's definitely going to be one of the most interesting things this season, in season change wise.
I'm interested to see if it changes their defensive scheming at all. I don't really know what they run base out of. I know that a lot of teams have switched to running base nickel, but with Dante Jackson, Gilmore, and CJ Henderson now on that team, I'm very intrigued to see how they managed to get all three of those guys on the field and who's doing what.
When I was watching the game, Dante Jackson looks like an absolute stud. He looks like one of the best corners in the league. And it's not even, it's really, he's playing at a level that very few guys are playing at. At least last Sunday he was. It was very impressive what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the game that just completely screwed with my mind over the past weekend, and I just had this is probably the biggest surprise of the season for me. I didn't think there was any way this was going to happen, but the Chargers walked into Baltimore and just got absolutely smacked. They didn't belong there at all, and I have no idea what to think of that, because I didn't think that they'd go there and just get completely mollywopped. Is that the correct term?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I've been saying all off season, Brandon Staley's defense can't stop the run.
I mean, if we're talking about it, it's. Yes. I mean, first off, yes. It's actually been true all season. But how is this going to go next week? Because it is next week, right?
Next.
Is it next week? No. So it looks like that game is week 8, and we're finally going to get to it. But after seeing what we saw this week, it really wasn't the fact that I was surprised that they couldn't stop the run, though. Just because they let up 34 points. I mean, I haven't been too impressed with this defense up to this point. Really, what it comes down to is that guy who, said any given week is playing at an MVP level, and we don't really know. I just expected him to continue doing that every week, and this week he did not, and the team did not look good when he did not play at an MVP level.
Yeah, Herbert had an off week, man. I mean, that's what's going to keep that team in every single game they play, and is the offense being able to keep up with how bad the defense is. And I mean, if he's throwing the offense is having 2-3 turnovers a game, there's no way they're going to be able to win. So I mean, it's fine to have an off game. There's 17 games this season. One off game isn't going to kill them. But it does hurt them having a stranglehold on the division, because those Kansas City Chiefs, man, they might be able to work back up there and get it. So stay on your A game, Chargers.
I'm very, very interested. I'm really hoping that the league levels out even more, and there's just even more questions by the end of the season. It's just everybody's playing at a mediocre level except the Arizona Cardinals, because we trashed them way too much. all off season to allow them to. So they basically have superpowers. Like they're not going to lose a game this season. But speaking of the Cardinals, this actually also we'll get to them, but it's important talking about this game to mention the fact that Herbert not playing well actually helps me going back to my week 1 argument that I said I would hold through the rest of the season of Kyler Murray will win the MVP. A 6-point outing from the Chargers where they lose by 28 is a perfect recipe to make it so that Kyler could still win it. Now it's so funny because it's still so early in the season. It feels like the script can still like flip on its head like on a week-to-week basis. I don't even know who's at the top now. I mean, it's still probably like Brady, him, but Herbert would be out after this week. I mean, it's only 1 week in terms of the 17-game schedule, but just looking at the rankings now, Herbert drops down. Bills lost, so Allen drops down. And then who's the one other guy that I was thinking of before that? Another
Stafford,
a Dak. I was really thinking Dak. So yeah, it's just interesting to see where we're sitting in terms of that race. And on the other hand, I guess you could even say the fact that Baltimore's only lost 1 game, you could put Lamar Jackson in the mix too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a 3-man race for MVP come the end of the season. It's going to be Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and J.J. Watt.
If the Cardinals, I mean, this is probably a ridiculous statement because I don't see any way that this happens. But if the Cardinals won every game this season, so stupid exercise because I highly doubt that's going to happen. If the Cardinals won every game this season, is there any way that they could give that award to anyone else?
Yeah, they could give it to Brady.
Okay. I mean,
if Brady leads the league in passing yards, which he's doing right now, I don't know if it's sustainable for him to keep doing that. But if he does, I'd give it to him.
Even if the Cardinals are 17-0. Wow.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, also
MVP isn't a team award, it's an individual award.
Just pump up the Ravens a little bit more. Good job. I can't believe your defense is I mean, I knew the scheme was amazing, but I'm really just like, man, with all
Marlon Humphrey being on an island with every top receiver and then having no help behind him or next to him at all is wild.
I don't feel like there's another guy on that defense I could point to and say is elite. I mean, I'm like a big Chuck Clark fan for personal reasons, but I'm not putting him in that conversation at all. Like, no, yeah,
Calais Campbell, Patrick
not
Queen.
At this age. Patrick Queen's close. He's close, but yeah, no, I don't think anybody's there yet. It's very impressive what that coaching staff's able to do though. So all props to them to just be able to play basically the best team ball in the NFL probably.
Yeah.
Rams at Giants. I mean,
this is what happens when you put guys on the field that aren't like 100% healthy. They get re-injured. But Joe Judge is just such a football guy that, I mean, if you can walk, you just got your bell rung, kid. Get back out there. That's what I took away from this game. It's like a pee-wee football game where it's just someone's dad coaching. It's like, you all right? All right, you're on 2 feet. Get back out there. Like, that's how I think of Joe Judge. It's just some dad's coach a pee-wee team, and they played against the high school football team and the Rams just took care of business.
Yeah. It was pretty cool to see that the Giants played with these guys for like half a quarter. That was longer than I thought it was going to be honest.
That's about the amount of time Kadarius Toney was in the game before he got hurt.
Great point. We're just glad that they're starting to use him, until he got hurt.
I love Kadarius Toney so much.
Of course. How can we not? But yeah, I don't have analysis because this was, I talked about half the games being fun and interesting. This was not one of them. This was, saw it from a mile away. We knew this was about to go down, and they just went in and slaughtered them. So, Okay. Houston at Indianapolis.
This was the game that made Houston realize they have to blow it up.
You're not wrong.
Releasing Whitney Merciless and Andre Roberts, like the day after. I mean, Good for Andre Roberts getting out of there, going to a contender in the Chargers now, and good for Whitney Merciless doing the same, going to the Packers. But yeah, I didn't think Indy would manhandle him the way that they did. I thought this was gonna be a close game. But Indy just took care of business, dude. I mean, they play the Texans again, but this is the most convincing win I think they could have all season. Just like smacking a team.
I mean, I so I got a feeling about the Texans for no reason. Okay, stop trusting your gut, idiot. That's not right. Use your brain a little. Also, on the other hand, I think my mind subconsciously let the record dictate too much of what I thought about the Colts, because we knew even before the season what their record would be going into this game, and I still was like, they're 1-4. They're a good football team. I don't know. I'm going to be more interested to see what they can do against maybe not like high-level competition that they started the season with, and that sucked for them, but like just some mid-tier teams. How can they play against like these middle-of-the-road teams? And if they can start getting things on the right track, where do they go from there? But I don't know. I'm just like trying to think about Tennessee, and honestly, before last week, I would have said like the weakest division in the South was the AFC South. But if Indianapolis is playing like they did Sunday, and Tennessee is playing like they did Monday the rest of the season, then it's like, man, I still can't. I'm still having trouble figuring out where the weak link is in terms of division winners in the NFL. Because last season it was like, okay, whoever comes out of the East, we knew from the beginning of the year, whoever comes out of the East is basically, once Dak got hurt, it was like, okay, whoever comes out of the NFC East is going to be bad. This year, got no clue, basically. Just like looking around trying to find the one flawed team in terms of a division winner, and it's pretty hard to pick out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going into the season, we knew the Colts weren't going to have such a hot start because of the schedule. But they're not a bad football team, and I mean, they could take care of business against teams that are way worse than them. And yeah, playing against teams that are middle of the road. I guess Miami's like in between being really bad and middle of the road, somewhere there, beat them. But yeah, seeing like the Colts play a team like the Vikings would be interesting. Like, it'd be a close game, obviously, but
yeah, and if I remember correctly, they've got somewhat of an interesting matchup this week, but I'm not sure. You'll have to watch our prediction episode to really find out what we think about that. Kansas City at Washington.
I mean, I kind of just had a feeling KC was going to win this game. I feel like everyone did. Chiefs don't really lose terribly 3 games in a row, back to back, really. Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is still making stupid decisions that are like hurting his team badly. And Tyreek Hill cannot catch a ball to save his life, or at least in a clutch situation can catch a ball. I don't know if that was clutch. He cannot. If you're going to drop a ball, drop it straight down. He is like tipping it up in the air to the corner right behind, or the safety right behind him every time. It's wild. Yeah, Washington's defense is still not that great. It's just Mahomes making all these mistakes that was keeping that team in the game, and I mean, their offense is still mediocre, but that would be okay if, like we said at the start of the season, the mediocre offense is fine, but the defense has to be elite. And it's just like, yeah, the defense is bad and the offense is mediocre, and that's what's led them to this point where it's like, yeah, we can beat the Giants, but anyone else?
Yeah, no, Washington has been pretty embarrassing, and Kansas City, for what they should be, have not obviously lived up to the standards. Speaking from Kansas City's perspective, I'm happy they got back in the win column, but geez, it's gonna break at some point. It is this turnover. Even though they won this week, the turnover garbage continued to happen, and it's going to break at some point. And when it breaks, this team is going to look just as good as they have in the past. Maybe not on the defensive side of the ball, but at least on the opposite side of the ball. They are still not punting. I kept a fairly close eye on this game. In the 1 o'clock window, and they're not punting the ball. They're turning it over in situations that they should not be turning it over in. They're moving the ball extremely well. I have no idea why Tyreek Hill can't catch a ball when it hits him in the hands, and then Patrick Mahomes feels the need to just chuck a ball straight up into the air once he's getting sacked on another play. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what gets you to play like that. I have no idea what happened that is just making them play like that. But they're back in the win column, and I think that if they're going against a team that's not even considered inside of like the top 10 teams in the league, like you couldn't even consider them that high, they'll probably still be able to win it even while turning the ball over like that. But while they continue to turn the ball over like this, they won't be able to beat those teams inside the top 10. So it's just, how much longer does this last? I know it's not going to go the rest of the season. I'm going to just hammer that point home every time we talk about the Chiefs each week. From Washington's perspective, man, it's almost like this season's almost like completely down the drain for me in terms of like where I thought they could be and what they've actually put out on the field as a product. Almost like completely disappointed in everything they've done. So I don't know. I thought they'd be at least half decent this season. Even if Fitzpatrick wasn't the starting QB, like it's not like they've been plagued with injuries. They just have not done nearly as well as I thought they could with what they have on their roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It's been terrible.
An idea just popped in my head. Do you think Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes switched bodies Freaky Friday style this offseason? Because, I mean, it would explain a lot. Josh Allen isn't flipping his hips when he's rolling out left because Patrick Mahomes doesn't know how to control his body yet. He's a bigger, clunkier guy. He doesn't know. Josh Allen doesn't get that 1 yard on the sneak because Patrick Mahomes got hurt on a sneak. So he's trying to protect his body. And then Patrick Mahomes is doing a bunch of dumb stuff that Josh Allen does weekly, or at least usually does weekly, like chucking the ball straight up in the air for an interception. Yeah, I'm going to go with this narrative. I'll propose it to every NFL media outlet. Hopefully they can pick me up and ask me why I know all this.
I am almost ready to accept that. Except we had one hurdle that makes me think that it couldn't happen. If that one play didn't exist, I would agree with you.
Maybe Mahomes is just like, well, I got to try this out. If I'm in Josh Allen's body, I got to try this out.
This works? I heard this works in this body. Yeah, no. Maybe you're onto something. Maybe you are onto something. I don't know. He's just like, oh yeah, or up by like 2 touchdowns. I can try this late in the game. I don't know. Green Bay at Chicago.
I made this game. Again, this is a game that went kind of how it was going to go. Justin Fields played way better than I thought he was going to. He didn't play that great, but his 2 interceptions that he had were what he thought were free plays, and I'm not going to hate on the guy for throwing a pick on a play that he thought was a free play.
He thought they were both free plays? I saw them both. I thought it was only one. Okay. That. I mean, I guess that makes it slightly better, but how do you make that mistake twice in a game? Especially from a guy we consider pretty intelligent.
The refs weren't that good that game. It was both sides, too. It wasn't just the Bears. They were bad for both teams. Rodgers still owns the Bears, as he made it clear. He looked really good. He's a guy that, I don't know if you can even put him in the MVP race after that atrocity of a first week. He's still got to earn it. But Aaron Jones proved why they should have paid him too in that game. And Khalil Herbert, fantasy legend. Thank you for that. Got me a win last week, so appreciate you.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad that's what you're concerned about. Yeah, I mean, the Justin Fields interceptions were hideous in this game. It felt like Bears-Packers. I'll say that much. I mean, not a game I'm ever excited about, but every single person that covers the NFL always tells me I'm supposed to be excited about it because it's the oldest rivalry in the game. So
the 203rd meeting of these two teams. The storied rivalry that hasn't been good since Rex Grossman has been under center.
Since Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher, and Charles Tillman. Like, literally, it used to be fun because it was like, okay, Packers, high-powered offense, Bears, extremely good defense. Like, this should be close because those two, like forces will clash, and then the other side of the ball will be fun because neither of them are really great, and it's just like it's kind of balanced each way, and it's like, oh, we'll see what we get here. And ever since, what was it, 2014 on like the 4th and 8 where Randall Cobb gets like wide open deep and scores a touchdown for the Packers, ever since that game, it's just felt like I have not been interested in this game at all whenever it's been played. And I don't know. I feel like it's the same now. So sorry for like bashing this rivalry, Bears fans and Packers fans. But I mean, this game just kind of went how I thought it would. Just like in the end, Green Bay won by a few scores, and it really wasn't that interesting to me. And it's not like anybody really showed out in this game either. It was just like 24-14, right? That was the final.
Yeah. But you said this rivalry hasn't been good since 2014. So Matt Forte made this rivalry then. Matt Forte was the reason this rivalry was great.
Let's go with that, yes. I mean, no. All right, leave it at that. Cincinnati at Detroit.
I thought the Lions could rally around to get the first one, stun Cincy at home.
Hang on. Let me say, I was completely wrong. I was completely wrong about Miami being able to lose to Jacksonville. Wow. I don't think either of us have been more wrong about a game that we were seemingly convinced about like earlier in the season. I mean, I wasn't saying that I was like, if you want to talk about a game that was also this week earlier that we talked about, LAC at Baltimore. Okay, we both picked the Chargers, but I don't think we were like, oh, the Baltimore doesn't stand a chance or anything like that. And I don't think that you were necessarily like, Cincinnati doesn't stand a chance in this game, but you were like really heavily like Detroit, yes, Detroit.
I love storylines, man. I love storylines, and I thought that after Dan Campbell cried, now after his post-game conference for this game, going into the next one, I don't think they stand a chance. We're still playing the Rams next week, but him just straight up calling out Jared Goff, baller move, love it. It's a coach that loves his team, wants his players to get better, and he knows that Jared Goff can take it, so that's why he's doing it.
I didn't see this week, so could I get a quick interjection of what he actually said about Jared Goff?
They asked him like about the team stepping up, and he's like, yeah, I need to step up. Coaching staff needs to step up. Players need to step up. And then they asked about Jared Goff. He goes, oh, yeah, he took like a long pause, like a 45-second pause where he's just thinking. And then he just goes, yeah, Jared needs to step up. He's not putting enough out there on the field for this team. And he needs to step up and bring more to the table for us to win football games.
Wait, plural? Okay.
Games. I hope we just win a game.
Yes, much better. Just wanted to analyze a little bit there. So I mean, is there any actual takeaway from the game itself, or is it really just talking about where these teams sit?
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati is surprisingly good.
Buddy.
That
I said it was possible after this week, but it's the fact that we're now actually sitting in the situation that I said was possible, which is amazing to me. I don't want to look ahead too much in the recap episode, but Cincinnati just beat a team very convincingly. Regardless of whatever, when you're in the NFL and you beat a team convincingly, it's impressive, especially a team like the Lions who seemingly never play anybody and just get beat badly. At least from what we've seen this season, even against good teams. And they're playing Baltimore next week, and if they win against Baltimore, they are actually about to be, like, basically undisputedly the best team in the AFC North. It's different when it's early in the season and, like, they start out 2-0 and nobody's played games in the division yet. But with where they're sitting, it's like, and they beat Baltimore, that would actually show at this point in time they're the best team in the division. And I don't think it's completely out of the cards with how the two just huge pieces on the offensive side of the ball are connecting and all the other helpful pieces they have around that grouping.
Yeah, no, I'll save my thoughts on that for the next episode. So check it out if you want to see.
No. It's not actually previewing the game itself. It's
Oh,
literally
yeah.
just talking about the fact that the
I
Bengals
know.
are even in this situation.
Yeah, no, but I had Bengals winning the same amount of games as the Steelers previous 3. So, yeah, this is shocking. This is shocking for me. I wouldn't have guessed that they've won this many going in here, or even be in the consideration to be a top team in the North. But yeah,
That Arizona at Cleveland.
yeah. I mean, Cleveland was banged going into this game, and they're banged up leaving it. Yeesh. Baker has not looked great. It seems like I don't want to say plateau because I do think he's gone down a bit, but his rookie season was like the peak, at least so far. He can get better. I'm not going to say this is the best he's going to be, and he can't. Baker can get better, but it seems like that rookie year, and then he just flatlined after that. But I don't know. He had a good Hail Mary, but the team around him, I cannot put. It'd be ridiculous for me to put this loss on Baker because it's not on him. He didn't have his number 1 running back. His second running back got hurt in the game. The offensive line's banged up. The defense is banged up. They're missing JOK, the best defensive player in the draft.
And he's actually playing like it too, which is even better.
He's defensive rookie of the year candidate. Like it sucks. That team is hurt really bad, and then you have the Cardinals that have just been rolling. And I mean, shame on us for not just sticking with the hot hand going into this one. Which I mean, I really haven't done. I've picked against the Cardinals almost every opportunity I can. Yeah, maybe I'll have to start doing this, and then the week I finally stick with it and pick them for multiple weeks in a row, they'll lose. But yeah, MVP Kyler Murray has been playing like MVP Kyler Murray. DeAndre Hopkins looks great. I mean, JJ Watt will always be JJ Watt because JJ Watt's just so good, JJ Watt.
We need to mention him 16 times a game, even if he's doing nothing.
On average.
Oh my gosh. JJ Watt just tweeted out that Chandler Jones got 5 sacks for the Cardinals.
Nothing will top that.
Not oh my gosh. Chandler Jones just got 5 sacks for the Cardinals. Oh my gosh, JJ Watt just tweeted out that his teammate's good at football. Wow, I hate stuff, and people complain about the Patrick Mahomes stuff, like oh they would. Could you imagine how many replays this would get if Patrick Mahomes did it? No, can we please just talk about how JJ Watt is literally thought of as God on this planet? It doesn't make any sense in the world.
I think for JJ Watt though, it's mainly like a broadcast thing though. Like if you watch any game that he is in, whether that is on the Texans or
done
the
anything in 3 years,
yeah, done anything in 3 years. If you watch a football game that JJ Watt's been in, you just hear his name, or even if you play it, even if a team that's playing in the AFC South is playing in a game, you will hear his name brought up. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Now in terms of what happened during this game, yeah, Cardinals rolled. And Baker's running around like he's trying to act like Kyler during the game, and then fumbling and just looking like a mess. Those plays were absolutely miserable to watch. I couldn't believe what he was trying to do. He looks like a chicken with his head cut off. And then on the opposite side, Kyler Murray just looks like as poised as can be. But then Baker's also got the injury, like he's got an injury, and then so many other guys on the team has injuries too. I guess the positive from this week is the fact that Donovan Peoples-Jones is a freak, and honestly, maybe he should be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. I mean, I said it before the draft last year that I think he could be as talented as Dez Bryant, but boy, he is extremely talented. And I picked Dez Bryant because that's who I wanted to compare him to, like a young Dez Bryant, but Dez was physical. I mean, after seeing what Donovan Peoples-Jones did to the defender on the touchdown that he had, the little run after the catch, not the Hail Mary, that's even that's like way more physical than Des Bryant ever would have been. So I mean, I'm just like, man, get that guy the ball.
Yeah, I mean, ship out Jarvis and Odell. Get some assets for them. And then just draft receivers.
I don't know who's gonna want them for like whatever price tag they're gonna get, and then like I would love to know what if there was like a place that I'd want to be able to hear the conversations about a team's own players now, it would really be in regards to what like the Browns management actually thinks of Jarvis and Odell at this point, because I have no idea what they've got to be thinking of those two, because it's getting to be like one of the strangest dynamics in the league, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have said like 3 years ago, oh man, it's the best wide receiver duo of all time. And then it's like, oh yeah, but it doesn't work when Odell's out there because we made it to the playoffs when it was just Jarvis and Odell was out. And now Jarvis is out and Odell's in there, and then Odell gets hurt. And it's like, just break it up. It doesn't work. They haven't seen success with both of them on the field. And you're right. If I could sit in any executive room and hear their thoughts on players, it would be the Browns talking about the wide receivers, because that would be the most interesting thing. Because you could just you could fully commit to running it with power and just have one wide receiver out there and have it be Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I don't think they're disappointed with Rashard Higgins either.
Oh no.
Like I don't think it's too bad after those two. I think it's hard to figure out who the third guy would be. But their tight end room is so exceptional as well, along with their depth at the running back position and, just how decent their O-line is. You would think that if they just stayed with some heavier sets, even if what they're already doing, running play action off of it and doing that type of thing, they wouldn't need to ever have too many wide receivers on the field at once. I just wonder if they're really scared worrying about who the third receiver would be, and the fact that they feel like they probably can't ship off one guy without the other, so they need to figure out who that third guy would be before they get rid of those two.
I mean, you could acquire the third guy in a trade when you ship him off. I mean, I know Mike Williams is in a contract year, but get him from LA or get one of the misfit receivers in San Fran that just like get Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk would be good.
I'm sorry. You said Mike Williams, and
yeah.
my mind immediately thought, is Mike Wallace retired? He's got to be
a veteran presence if they're losing Jarvis and Odell.
He's been around half the AFC North. Yeah.
Why not complete the cycle?
He should go for it. I mean, I know it's late in his career, but T.O.'s also out there. I don't think he's under contract. Dallas at New England, maybe the funnest game of the weekend.
It was a fun game, and I picked Dallas to win it, but towards the end of it, I was rooting for New England to pull off.
It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
No, Dallas's offense was moving it, and they just weren't scoring, which is really weird, because, Romo and Nance said it a ton during the broadcast, but it's like, I feel like this team has scored 30 points. but it's a one-score game, and the score's like 17-24.
Yeah.
Which that was crazy. The New England defense stays legit and always will because Bill Belichick's there, and the Cowboys offense looked really good even against the defense like that. But Trevon Diggs, man, big play king. Absolutely love him. He is a human highlight reel because he will either be getting the play on him or making the play, and it is amazing. I love him.
I just need I don't know if Dallas has New Orleans on the schedule this year, but I just need it in my life for like Jameis to just like be going deep in single coverage versus Trevon Diggs to Marquez Callaway the whole game, and just see what the numbers look like by the end of the game.
Marquez Callaway, like 338 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Trevon Diggs, 4
4
interceptions,
picks, 4 touchdowns. Just running them all back.
Yes. Yeah, so that was the main fun thing, and then yes, it just comes back down to the fact that, on the defensive side of the ball, New England's always able to be impressive in what they do, because, no one seemingly can figure them out. Even if they allow Dallas to move the ball the entire game, they're able to get the important plays, just like another team did that we'll talk about in a little bit. And yeah, Dallas still won it though, so not too much of a surprise here. Just that New England played another solid game, and really it's still very hard to evaluate where this New England team is.
Mm-hmm. Also, CD Lamb, I love him. Love CD Lamb.
Of course.
He's been looking better in the past couple weeks. He wasn't didn't start off too hot, but as of recently, he's become who I knew he was. He is who I thought he was.
Glad to hear it. Las Vegas at Denver.
Yeah, John Gruden was holding this team back.
As I said, he potentially could be.
Yeah, I mean, I needed a game to see it to believe it. I picked Denver in this one, but after seeing that performance, yeesh, yeah. Yeah, John Gruden being gone might actually get the Raiders into the playoffs.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Ruggs, dynamic playmaker. I mean, was it John Gruden that was like doing some funky stuff with the offense, like scheming Darren Waller open every single play and making him the number one read every play? Because that did not happen last week. It was a good mix of guys. It wasn't just Darren Waller and then Bryan Edwards at the end of the game, though Bryan Edwards did get a clutch reception at the end of the game to ice it. But
well, I will say in the 4 o'clock window, it like going through all these games at the same time, it felt like this was the one where this was the only one of the three that like one team really just I don't know. It felt like the Broncos didn't have a chance in this game. It felt like Arizona was leaving the door open for Cleveland at some points in the game, and then obviously Dallas and New England went down to the wire. But this one, even from like halfway through the first quarter, it just felt like Denver's not going to get back into this game, and they didn't. And I like I said before, Las Vegas lost a game probably because of what was going on with their coach last week. And I said they could bounce back immediately, and I didn't like the odds enough to actually pick them, but I definitely thought it was possible, and they did. And I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on these guys, because with how the Chargers just lost to the Ravens, I don't think they're out of this division yet. They could still take this division potentially.
maybe.
Listen, I said potentially. I didn't say it was guaranteed, because all it takes is the Chiefs to start not turning the ball over, and then they'll be the kings of the division here. So, I mean, the West.
That's not if Teddy Bridgewater has anything to say about it.
Yeah, the Wests are the two most interesting divisions in the NFL, minus Geno Smith. Speaking of Geno Smith, Seattle went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, geez, this game was kind of a slog for a greater bunch of it, and then it got interesting towards the tail half. But yeah, I mean, like I said, when the schedule came out, I couldn't have predicted that Geno Smith would be playing in this game. But I said this is going to be a game and I was wrong. I said that Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth would be playing the whole game. They didn't even make Al Michaels make the trip for this one. They just had Tirico call it. But yeah, this is a game that's going to be like, geez, these two teams are really underperforming at this point in the season. Now, you can't really fully blame the Seahawks and have Russell Wilson. But, I mean, Geno kept him in it for a long while there, but he kind of lost him the game with that fumble, which is tough. And then DK not stepping out of bounds there to get them one extra play. Not that, I mean, you're asking for like a heave to the end zone probably for that there before you kick the field goal, but still get one extra play, maybe two. Yeah, this is just a sloppy game. It was really gross to watch in prime time.
Yeah, I mean, nice comeback attempt by the Seahawks.
Oh yeah, Geno, they got some fight in them. Like Geno was just gonna lay down and lose. He's gonna try.
Credit for that, because when I looked at the halftime score, I was like, oh, okay. They seemingly don't even want to be here. But then by the end of the game, they obviously got it to OT. Saw the game-winning kick, saw the strip sack, and just like, man, I don't know. I still feel like even though these teams record-wise aren't out of anything yet. I don't know if I'm too excited for either of them until Russell Wilson obviously gets back for the Seahawks, and like we've been saying, we have to see where they'll be at that point. And Pittsburgh still, man, if you put up 30 in a game, if you ever even come close to putting up 30 points in a game, maybe I'll say that you could hang with like better teams in the league, but I don't see that happening anytime soon still. So doesn't change much in my opinions.
And I don't think Pittsburgh's going to win another game this season because they've already won 3. And I said that as much as they're going to win.
Yeah, well,
So I'm sticking to my guns.
I'm glad you're sticking to it. We're gonna need some tissue paper for the next one. Buffalo, Tennessee.
We could just separate this and make this an hour and a half long rant. Yeah, geez, the Bills and Titans game. I mean, besides that one big Derrick Henry run, I mean, the Bills did a pretty good job containing him. That one run adds like 80 yards to his total. So yeah. Yeah, did a good job containing Derrick Henry. I mean, the play action game will always be great for Tennessee, and if it's just a 15-yard crosser every time, because if you're picking it up on third down, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter at any point in the game, because if you're picking up a third and 15 crossing route on 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 8, I mean, it's gonna work, especially when you're throwing to A.J. Brown or Julio, Julio was having some trouble catching the ball. Besides Mike Hyde off his helmet. That was great. Yeah, I mean, the Bills put up a fight offensively. I don't hate the play call at the end, because just thinking about it more and more, you kick the field goal. Like, you have Josh Allen. I hate the play call for it. I'm going to preface that. I hate the play call for it, but going for it there's not bad, because you have Josh Allen, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you have an offense that's humming. That's one of the best offenses in the NFL. Your chances of getting an inch are we're going to coin flip in OT to hope that you get the ball and that the ball doesn't go to Derrick Henry to just run it down your throat. Because I'd say like at least a 60% chance you get that inch. It's a 50% chance of the coin. That's how I view it when I'm thinking about it, or at least how maybe I'm just trying to rationalize it and cope after that. But yeah, the Bills could have sent it to OT and played for OT, which is what Mike Vrabel loves to do and loves to play for ties, and that's why he lost to the Jets. But he didn't. They tried to play for the win, and I'm going to hate a team that tries to play for the win, even if it's a really bad team that does it. I mean, usually really bad teams are the teams that do it, so when a really good team does it, can't hate on it. But this may hurt their chances of getting the 1 seed later on in the season. I don't know. But they're going to their bye week now. The Bills are. And then they're coming out and they just got a gauntlet of trash teams after it, and the Titans are playing the Chiefs next week. So 2 very different schedules past that point. But yeah, I mean, I'll give the Chiefs credit where it's due. I mean, the defense looked good against Josh Allen.
The Titans?
Yeah, the Titans defense looked good.
Okay.
I mean, they contained him. They realized you got to push him to his right. Every single big play they gave up, he was running to his right. But when they gave it up, I mean, he missed 2 touchdown throws rolling to his left. So
no,
you know how to game plan for him.
The first 2 drives of the game that we should have had touchdowns on, those are the worst moments of the game. Those were terrible. The fact that we settled for 3 there, and then they get the thing to finally give them some momentum after we've like perfectly matriculated the ball down the field for 2 drives and should have had a touchdown on each of those drives. Then they get the 80-yard run from Derrick Henry, which basically means, okay, this game isn't over, even though like the Bills have dominated it for a whole 18 minutes or so at this point. Now Derrick Henry's just going to bust off an 80-yard run, and everything's going to flip on its head. And by flip on its head, I really just mean that we are going to now make it so that, the game's close the entire game. And when you monkey around and make the game close the entire game, and you let the other team hang around, even though you're dominating it in terms of positive plays you have, as opposed to positive plays they have. Because like I said, at halftime, it felt like the Bills had about 25 positive plays in the first half, and the Titans had about 5, and we had, a 3-point lead. Then at the end of the game, no, I don't. I still, even after 2 more days of thinking about this, I still don't want to go for it on fourth down because I don't think, even though I love our offensive coordinator in terms of what he's usually able to come up with in terms of being creative on for play calls, he cannot. Our offense has no idea what it wants to do on 4th and 1. It just becomes completely incompetent. And once I saw that it was 4th and inches and that he didn't pick up the first down when he jumped up in the air to try to stretch the ball out, I was like, okay, the game's over because we're going for it, and I know we're not going to get it because I know we're about to call something that isn't going to work on 4th and 1 or 4th and inches, whatever. I wanted to take the 3 because then I was like 50-50 chance whoever gets the coin toss in OT. I feel like whichever team gets the coin toss in OT is going to drive down the field and win the game. But I feel like going for it on 4th and 1 here with how our play calling has been all season on 4th and 1, we are not going to get this, and we are guaranteeing we are going to lose the game. Meaning, like, I don't know. I don't know what I would have given it percentage-wise chances because I literally felt like it was 0. It wasn't actually 0. Felt like it was 0 to me. But then I was like, it's 50-50 if we try to kick the field goal and take it to OT. Because then at least we don't have to, like, think about 4th-and-1s ever. Probably, most likely. And, yeah, that just ticked me off. But we can't let teams hang around. I'm at least glad it's on the road. Hopefully, with, like you said, the strength of schedule and the future of our schedule, that means that we can win enough games to potentially be able to get the highest seed in the AFC, because the team that's ahead of us in terms of winning percentage right now in the AFC, I'm pretty sure is only Baltimore, and they're in a division that's going to give them a decent amount of tough divisional games. So, we could get to the end of the season with like 3 or 4 losses, that at least puts us in position to potentially be able to still grab the 1 seed. But I hate that we're taking ourselves out of the driver's seat, losing a close game like this, which it really felt like in terms of number of positive plays, it was completely in our favor, even though Tennessee gets the highlight type plays with like the Derrick Henry 80-yard plus run, or whatever, the Julio catch, or whatever other stupidity happens. Because also, like you said, I mean, it was just what did Tannehill complete? Like 15 passes by the end of the game, and then Derrick Henry had like 150 yards rushing. But what, he had 80 on one touchdown run,
yeah,
like 20
he
on
had
another
like 30
touchdown.
rushes too, 35 rushes and 100, like 58 yards. Or
Yeah,
something
I
like
would
that.
love to see what the numbers look like if you take out like his top 4 carries. If you take out the top 4 carries, just like a few yards a carry, maybe. And it's just crazy to think about that wear and tear. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the bright side to look at this Bills fans is last year he lost in a heartbreak before going to the bye, and he ran the table. So the only difference is this bye week is really early in the season. So running the table from week 8 on is not an easy thing to do, especially when the Buccaneers are thrown smack dab in it.
Well, I mean, we can throw 1 loss in there. 2 losses, though, at 13-4. I don't know if we have the 1 seed, and I don't know after seeing this team go to Tennessee and do that. Because Tennessee played a solid game, but they're better than Tennessee, and they still lost in Tennessee. I think there's even better teams in the AFC, and if I think they have to go on the road anywhere, that makes me really nervous for the playoffs. And I mean, that means that they probably aren't going to get to the Super Bowl if that's the case. So rest of the season wise, I think they're really only allowed to drop 1 if they really want to have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. But I mean, it could be worse, because I mean, I was actually a fan of all the teams that I've talked about, like going to the Super Bowl. I mean, the teams that I put ahead of them before the season in the AFC are in worse spots. Like Cleveland and Kansas City are the only 2 teams in the AFC prior to the season that I said I thought were better than Buffalo. So, I mean, it could be worse.
Bills fans, hearing Hayden complain like that, let me just tell you something. He thought that their season was over when they lost to the Steelers. Now, let me just remind you. So don't take everything he says with a grain of salt here when he says that they can't. You didn't think the season was over, but you're like, Josh Allen looks like trash. He's regressed. You're saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because
he's
that's what you do.
For the Titans game.
That's what you do when you're a fan of a team.
I didn't
All my takes
justify that.
all my takes about any other team in the NFL are completely rational, all the time, except for maybe the Indianapolis one this week that I admitted was a little ridiculous. That one was a little too far, to think that they were going to lose to the Texans. But no, my takes are always rational besides the Bills. Basically, what you need to learn if you actually listen to us this long each week is that you should not trust our opinions on the Bills. I actually feel like we make a lot of sense most of the time. In other teams, there's way too much emotion with the Bills to actually say anything rational from my perspective, at least.
I feel like I've become more objective in a sense with the. This has helped me become more objective in a sense with the Bills.
No, I mean I'm more rational than a lot of Bills fans are, but I'm still not 100% rational. No, there's some Bills fans that are like, oh well, doesn't matter what happened last week, we're still gonna win every other game 100-0.
There's Bills fans that are looking at one play that happened in the middle of the third quarter and being like, look, holding right there. This play shouldn't have happened. It's, bro, stop.
Yeah, no, I can't believe how many people I saw talking about the holding on the one on Derrick Henry's long run. I was like, come on, man. That did not change the whole game. I mean, with how these two teams stack up against each other, the Bills should have done so much more, and it shouldn't have came anywhere near that close by the end of the game in terms of, like I said, how many more positive plays the Bills had over the Titans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You all set with this?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.